Today, we bring you the 2024 Red Bull Cup match between T1 and KC. The match between T1 and KC is one of the few in this Red Bull Cup that, despite its exhibition nature, feels the most formal, even though T1 is not fielding their main 5 starters. With Rekkles filling in as he did when the second team stepped up, T1 still maintains a certain level of competitiveness. That said, let me emphasize up front that the Red Bull Cup is primarily an exhibition match. Even if teams put in some effort, it won't reach the intensity of the World Championship. T1 followed the KESPA Cup meta by quickly securing Ambisa early on. Unfortunately, they didn't flex it to the mid lane and instead gave it directly to Doran. But it's hard to believe Faker wouldn't be able to use it. In the end, they returned to their roots, picking Ahri and Jhin to focus on seizing opportunities. While this did result in reduced overall damage output, the strategy aimed for precision and timing. But in exhibition matches, there's no need to overanalyze the team compositions. What truly matters is how exciting the gameplay is. Think about it, if this match featured something like Smolder against Corki, would the audience really enjoy watching that? This match can be described as a head-to-head showdown on every lane. Jhin versus Caitlyn, Ahri against Sylas, and Ambisa facing Ren, all intense matchups with punch action, guaranteeing an exciting game. Even the junglers brought flashy champions, with Lee Sin going up against Viego. The supports didn't play lane, dominating monsters either. They opted for engage, focused picks, ensuring the game would be full of action. Both teams seem to have a mutual understanding, opting for similar compositions to go head-to-head, focusing purely on mechanical skill and raw strength. As the most serious match of this Red Bull Cup, I'm extremely satisfied with the ban-pick phase of this game. How did things play out in the game? Let's continue watching. At the start of the match, doesn't the scene feel oddly familiar? It's about 87% similar to the first game of the World Championship. Almost identical, right? Sylas sets up a trap to catch T1, but T1 has already learned from this lesson. During the World Championship, they were caught at least twice here, but finally, on the 3rd attempt, they didn't fall for it. Although Rekkles was hooked at the end, at least it wasn't the AD carry who got hit, and there were no follow-up problems. He successfully escaped, so it was just a small loss with no major issues. It wasn't just the bot lane, the top half of the map was also intense. The veteran and newcomer top laners greeted each other with some early chaos, just trading blows back and forth. In the end, it seems Ambisa had a slight advantage, at least managing to stack one layer of grasp of the Undying. After the top lane, the bot lane became even more exciting. Gumayusi showcased his excellent positioning and spacing, successfully keeping his distance from Rel. He dodged incredibly well in this play. Rel couldn't land her engage in time, and once that missed, it was all about taking damage with no way to retaliate. Caitlyn immediately had to burn her flash, putting her in a very bad spot. Rel still had a second chance here, but she chose to mount up and engaged on Rekkles instead. At that point, it was over. Rel had no more room to maneuver, and she quickly got taken down, with her health melting away under the constant attacks. Once Rekkles' second part of the combo was ready, he decisively went in and hit her head on, not giving her any room to react. This is the true power of laning. Both teams' understanding of the lane was worlds apart. This was a clear example of the massive gap in lane knowledge and execution. And it wasn't just after this play. Caitlyn was about to face even worse. With no early advantage and no flash, what do you think would happen next? She was immediately punished and taken down. Lee Sin was about to come over and punish her again. The play went smoothly, landing the Q to engage, with Recon setting up the follow-up. Lee Sin also landed the Q and kicked her in, allowing the entire team to follow up with damage. In the end, the 4th shot landed perfectly, securing the kill. However, Oner got a bit cheeky. Was it playful? Maybe not the most accurate description, but he might have thought it was an exhibition match and decided to give the opponent a chance. Even Faker got caught in this play. As for Faker getting caught, that was simply a lapse in judgment. Earlier, Ahri could indeed pressure Sylas, but Lee Sin had already roamed to the bot lane. The left side was naturally a more dangerous position. Pushing forward and getting caught there was really unavoidable. It was just one of those situations, and they had already done their best. If the previous play was unavoidable, then the 5-3-30 mark was really T1 being cheeky. The minion wave had already almost completely crashed into the tower. When Faker didn't have flash to clear the wave, he still chose to push forward, once again giving KC an opportunity. They successfully capitalized and secured a kill. It's an exhibition match, so giving away a few kills doesn't matter too much. After all, in the actual matches, they won't make these mistakes. Might as well give away a few more here. After the mid lane play, the camera quickly shifted to the top half of the map, where they were preparing for a Larva team fight. Surprisingly, Ren got caught alone in T1's jungle. And where was Rel during this play? He was still in the bot lane, not even coming over to assist. As a result, T1 was able to easily secure the Larva, almost without any resistance. Then the game returned to its normal flow. T1's bot lane was relentlessly pushing, and the tower was almost destroyed. However, in the mid lane, another gap appeared. Faker was at a level disadvantage and ended up losing a significant amount of health. He chose to be cheeky and went forward to poke Sylas, but his distance control wasn't perfect, and he got hit by Sylas W. That was already a very painful mistake. However, Faker still decided to turn around and continue. Now the problem got serious. Sylas had fully stacked Conqueror and went in for the head-to-head, successfully solo killing Faker. He even unlocked a personal achievement for it. Being able to solo kill Faker must feel incredibly satisfying. Then the camera shifted to the bot lane. Gumayusi, known for his positioning and survivability, couldn't dodge Rel's flash this time and ended up getting killed. Viego immediately started resetting and rapidly collecting kills. By this point, KC had gained a massive advantage. However, this advantage seemed almost non-existent in front of T1, as if it were made of paper, having little to no lasting impact. They were preparing to group up for a Larva fight, but the team didn't gather in time. Instead, T1 arrived first, and Caitlyn was still split, pushing. Viego took advantage of this, and with the support not having any resources, it was a perfect opportunity for T1 to strike. It seemed like KC would have to give up the Larva, but the funniest part was that they didn't let it go. No matter how you looked at it, T1 was in a solid position to secure it. However, Caitlyn actually walked over, attempting to contest it. Did you really think you were Gumayusi? This is not that easy to steal. Without vision and no teammates to assist, Caitlyn had no choice but to give up her life right there. By the 10-minute mark, as they prepared for the Herald team fight, there was a slight bit of chaos. T1 still hadn't gathered properly, and Lee Sin got caught by a flash engage. However, the one-shot attempt failed, and surprisingly, Lee Sin managed to escape with just a sliver of health. Not only did Lee Sin escape, but then T1 played even more aggressively. Lee Sin was in a poor state, and logically KC should have had no problem defending mid. But somehow, things didn't go as expected. But T1 chose to play in this risky state, coming in to ambush them, aiming for a fight. And surprisingly, despite being in such a bad position, T1 actually won the fight. Caitlyn had no flash and was immediately lifted up. Then Lee Sin landed Q, followed by a clean combo with his Q and 2R, closing the gap. It was a smooth play, and they successfully took Caitlyn down. To be honest, that kill was a bit forced, especially since the opponent still had Viego who could reset. Thankfully, the TP came in just in time for reinforcements. Even though Viego went on a rampage and took 2 kills, the sheer numbers advantage was too much. And in the end, they were still wiped out, with their heads collected. The first shot missed, but there was still remaining vision, and the second shot successfully predicted the move. Together with Ari, they secured the kill on Viego. Not long after, Sylas TP in, trying to help, but in this situation, who could he actually catch? He couldn't catch anyone. He tried to play aggressively, even managing to hit Gumayusi, but after being followed up by Faker, it turned into a burn effect. Sure, he managed to hit both targets, but the damage wasn't enough. Both of them successfully escaped. Just as the official broadcast was showing a highlight replay, the mid-lane action started up again. The camera switched, and we found out Caitlyn had been caught by Rakan. What a huge mistake. With both Flash and E available, she still got lifted by Rakan. Well, congratulations, you're about to lose the lane. At the 18-minute mark, KC still had a significant advantage with 2 dragons and Caitlyn to block the path. As long as they could secure the 3rd dragon, everything would be fine. However, the play was a bit strange. They didn't have anyone positioned in front. Ren tried to go for a flanking maneuver, which normally wouldn't be an issue, but in this game, they were running Viego. With a flanking strategy, it becomes difficult to find a target. Doran initially charged forward, drawing a lot of attention from KC. Meanwhile, Ren was directly overwhelmed in the front line. This created a huge gap between the two teams' top laners. Looking back at how Doran played this, first, he pushed forward to apply pressure on the AD carry. After dealing a lot of damage and creating some chaos, he quickly bounced to the right, pulling 3 members' attention and managed to disengage just in time. Meanwhile, Ren in the front line foolishly walked forward, taking a huge amount of damage. Then Ambisa turned around and struck Viego, leaving him severely damaged and without any combat potential. Now, with both Viego and Ren lacking resources, how could they fight? There was no chance, and T1 easily steamrolled through them. However, Doran didn't get to enjoy his success for long. After using his flash to make that flashy play, he got caught in a trap. He didn't expect someone to be lurking behind, waiting to ambush him. When Ambisa was locked down, Doran probably realized that this was going to be a tough situation, with Sylas being quite fed at this point, and with no tower to fall back on, there was no way to escape. But his teammates were loyal. They immediately came down to help. How dare they try to kill our Doran? After all, he's the new top laner, so they made sure to take care of him. They quickly came to avenge him. However, in the end, the split pushing went too far, and the kill was still secured by Ahri. In just 20 minutes, both teams had exchanged 25 kills. And up until this point, it wasn't over yet. Lee Sin quickly seized another opportunity. This play was originally just for Vision, but T1 was the one who got caught, with 2 members pulled in. It looked great at first, but then, congratulations, it wasn't enough. The damage couldn't follow up. Instead, it turned into an offensive opportunity for T1. Ambisa's TP came in from behind, ready to cut in, but unfortunately for him, the target he chose to engage was Ren. So, he had no choice but to pull back to the left. However, Lee Sin found Caitlyn and seized the opportunity. With a perfect flash forward, he successfully kicked Caitlyn back, creating a beautiful play on screen. But then Gumayusi made a huge mistake. He was still reloading his AD and walked too far forward, getting stunned. And that's when things went downhill. Viego reset the fight, and Sylas pushed forward. Gumayusi was taken down, and with him gone, there was no more damage output. What now? Ahri had no health left, Ambisa had already split, pushed, and Lee Sin was being targeted. This was disastrous. The Baron was definitely going to be lost. And in this moment of desperation, who stepped up? That's right, it was our new top laner Doran. He successfully stepped in and turned the tide. Now KC thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and rushed to take the Baron. But Ambisa was alone, without his ultimate or flash. It didn't seem like an easy situation for him to handle. But how did he decide to play it? He observed the situation for a while and saw that the Baron's health was still good. He decided to move forward and apply some pressure, preventing Ren from getting there in time. So, while 3 people from KC were taking the Baron, they had already been at it for a while. It wasn't until later that Ren finally joined, but now there was a new challenger. Doran noticed Caitlyn was coming and thought, well, I'll just stop her from getting through. He decided to interrupt her and prevent her from reaching the Baron. After all, the Baron would take care of things for him. And he really timed it perfectly, as the Baron ended up taking down Ren. KC simply couldn't finish it. Their tankiness wasn't enough, and the damage fell short. In the end, it was the intergalactic volunteer team that swooped in and took the Baron. Throughout the entire play, Doran's judgment was spot on. If he had chosen to rush in immediately, he might have been caught and eliminated too early. But his approach was very calm. He first applied pressure on Ren, and then on Caitlyn. He didn't rush forward recklessly. He took a moment to assess the situation, saw that Baron still had about 8,000 HP left, and decided it wasn't urgent. So, he applied some more pressure to the right. Of course, you could argue that maybe he thought there was no opportunity inside and that it was easier to handle Caitlyn. Regardless, Doran's decision-making was spot on, and in the end, he successfully prevented KC from securing the Baron, allowing T1 to swoop in and take it instead. As the game neared its end, it seemed like KC was getting desperate and disorganized. Sylas had already TP'd to the back to set up an ambush, but T1 hadn't cleared that ward. He teleported over, but instead of waiting for Ren, he engaged prematurely. Seriously, guys, did you even talk about this? It was over. Sylas, the strongest champion on KC, made the mistake of walking alone into the weak side and was instantly caught. After that, there was no hope. Caitlyn was useless, and Viego had no chance to reset. The game ended with T1 securing the victory. That wraps up today's replay. Hope you all enjoyed it. Goodbye.